Now have video from the lab.
Houston, this is Alpha. We are ready.
E-Town, this is Houston. Please call Alpha for a voice check.
Alpha, this is E-Town. How do you hear me?
E-Town, this is Alpha. We have you loud and clear. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. This is Commander Colonel Yury Onufrienko and Flight Engineer Daniel Bursch, Flight Engineer Carl Walz. Yury, Carl, and Daniel, first of all, to help us all get a sense of where you guys are, could one of you kind of float over to the window and tell us what you see?
It's nighttime now, but we have a computer that tells us right now we're over Australia.
Australia. And that view, when you look out the window, I suspect the majesty of that view was the thing that just thrilled you like nothing else when you first got into space. Is that still thrilling after 6 months up there?
I don't know if I call it, it's probably not quite like the first time, but it definitely, I gauge my good days. My best days are the ones when I've worked really hard, feel like I've got a lot accomplished, and also I've been able to look out the window a lot and take some pictures. So it kind of gauges my good days and bad days.
So speaking of the things that you accomplish, I understand that there's an awful lot of maintenance work, and in addition to the science that you are working on up there. How would you describe that ratio, science to maintenance and repair?
Well, I think we're probably running, I would say, about 60-40 in favor of science. I think we do a lot of science. And, of course, our living up here, we ourselves are, in a way, scientific specimens. Will be studied when we get back on the ground. So what we eat, the way we exercise, all that will be taken into account when we get back to Earth. And so I'm thinking maybe 60-40, maybe 70-30 in favor of science.
Yeah. Let me talk a little bit more about that view out the window. The first photograph that we saw that came from space of planet Earth, in a way, that image with no borders, only the natural systems, mountains, rivers, oceans, in a way that kind of created the environmental movement as we know it today. When you look down at the Earth now, does it change in any way your perception of the state of the planet, or does it make you more concerned for the health of the planet than you were before you saw that view?
I think everyone who sees the Earth for the first time from space definitely does. You kind of cringe anytime that you see a lot of man-made smoke or any burning. Certainly some of the disasters we don't have any control over, whether it's volcanic eruption, but it does, the Earth is very beautiful, and each part of the Earth has its own distinct colors and characteristics. And you're right, we really can't see borders. At times you can see, you might be able to pick out a border, but it may be just because of the different way that they're using the land or the soil, so agricultural differences. But it definitely does make you aware that the Earth is a living thing. And I remember Kathy Thornton, former astronaut, who always said that, we always talk about having to take care of the Earth, but really we need to take care of the Earth because of us. We really need to take care of ourselves. In taking care of the Earth, we take care of ourselves, because if we don't take care of the Earth, then we're not going to survive as a species.
You guys, I have a young man here who's 13 years old. He's very anxious to speak with you. He's an astronomer. His name is Nick Bradley, and he may get a chance to see that view someday himself. Here's Nick Bradley with a question.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, Nick. How are you today?
Fine, thanks. I was just wondering, with all the training you get before you actually go up into space, what's the biggest surprise you have once you get up there?
I think, one of the things that's difficult to train for a long time is the weightlessness. We do train in an airplane, which gives us about 30 seconds of weightlessness or free fall at a time, but that's probably the thing that takes the longest to get used to, and it's something that you really can't train for. But what's beautiful about the human body is that it's very adaptable, and whether it takes somebody 1 day or 4 days to adapt, or in my case, for sleeping, it took probably over a month to totally adapt. So I would say that's probably the biggest surprise, and something that's really difficult to train for fully.
Guys, we've got a question for for Commander Onufrienko, and we've got a translator here who's going to help me with a question. I'd like to ask Yury, when he was training in the military to become an officer and a pilot, did you imagine, Yury, that you would ever be in space with two Americans? And here's the translation from Maxim.
Back then it was pretty difficult to imagine, but things are changing pretty rapidly, and they're going to continue to change 15, 20, 30 years from now, and until we reach a planet of some sort, Mars, any other planet. So that's where we're hoping to end up.
Thank you very much, Yury. We don't have a lot of time left. I'd like to ask the three of you, you're living in very confined space up there. Does music play a role at all? Do you listen to music? Do you make a little music? Is that part of your life up there?
Well, yeah, it turns out that music plays a big role. You know, of course, we have CDs that we play when we work out, when we ride the bikes and exercise, or just to have on while we're living in space. And of course, we also brought along some musical instruments. It so happens that I have a small keyboard up here, cool. And so I can play that as well here, and we also have a guitar as well, so I've been learning how to play the guitar. I play the keyboard back home, but the guitar is a new thing that I picked up here in my free time.
Well, Carl, if we get a chance to do this again, maybe you and I can set up a little jam session so we can make some music from space down to Earth. That would be fun.
Okay, that sounds good.
Last question for you. What do our listeners need to know in order to get more connected, more excited about the work that you guys are doing up there?
I think, well, one of the ways is NASA has a website. They've been posting a lot of the pictures that we take from space on that website. I think in other ways, it's one of the things that I think a lot of times people miss is just the international aspect of space right now. To me, I think that's one of the biggest leap forward that we've done, because I think the beginning of the space program was born out of competition, and now I think really the way to grow and for the whole planet to grow in so many ways is going to be in the spirit of cooperation. And I think a lot of people just miss that when they start thinking about the it's in the name International Space Station, but for some reason I think it's one of the biggest achievements, I think, of the International Space Station is how closely we're working together with Russia and all the other countries as part of this program.
Thank you guys so much for being with us. That's the International Space Station. Really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us here in E-Town.
It's been our pleasure, E-Town.
Alpha, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you, E-Town. Alpha, we are resuming Spacetogram 1.